Well, hello, everybody. Peter Greenberg here. Happy first Thursday in June. And here with, of course, the Facebook Live global travel update for this week. So much to talk about. First, let me tell you where I am. I'm actually coming to you from the Tethero Resort here in the middle of the high desert in Oregon. And a beautiful place to be. This place is like on 500 or 600 acres. It only has 50 rooms. If you're looking for a place to breathe, you found the right place. And of course, one of the reasons why we're up here is to talk about all the new airlines, one of which is Avalo. We've talked about them before. They actually fly to Redmond, only about 30 minutes away. And throughout the Pacific Northwest, they also fly to Mesa, Arizona instead of Phoenix. They fly to Utah. And of course, up and down the coast from Burbank, California. So tickets are $19 right now. You know they'll go up, but it's a nice way to go. By the way, on the show this weekend, on our CBS Eye on Travel radio show, we've already had the CEO of Avalo on the show. This weekend, we're going to talk with David Nealman, the CEO of Breeze, the new airline that started also about 10 days ago, flying to 36 different cities and 36 different routes in 16 cities. Pretty amazing time to do that. And their tickets are starting at about $39. I mentioned I'm in Bend. It's a wonderful place. I first came up here about 1976 to do a story for the Bicentennial for Newsweek on a small little community called Prineville. Check it out on the map. And should have bought a place then. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. And my friends who are with me, who talked me out of it, we're all kicking ourselves for that. But it's always a great place to return. And Bend is noted, as I said, for a wonderful place to breathe. It's got great outdoors. Looking out my window here, you can see the Cascades, Mount Hood. I mean, it's all here. But Bend also is notorious these days for one other thing that no other city in the United States has. Check out this photo. That's right, the last remaining Blockbuster in the world. Is that funny or what? I went there yesterday. As you can see, I made a purchase. Yes, I still have a VHS machine. I even have two of my phones that are rotary, and they still work. And those of you who know me, my email's on AOL, so I fit right in. What did I buy yesterday for $2? The Best of Johnny Carson, a VHS for $2. And of course, I got my tote bag. Now, Bend is also very, very good at telling you not just where it is and what it has to offer. It's also very good at telling you what it's not. Check out this street sign. Can you read that? You want to cross the street? You push the button because, as the sign tells you, this is not New York. Well, sorry, folks in Bend. I don't push buttons. I still cross the street when I want to cross the street because I'm from New York. But I appreciate the sign and I appreciate the sentiment. At least we have a sense of humor here in Bend as well. Now let's get down to news, and there is a lot of it. First of all, last week I reported on what Southwest was going through with the unruly passengers punching out the flight attendant. You saw the viral video. The FAA reported 2,500 cases already this year of unruly passengers. Southwest alone, 477 of those. That number, of course, has gone up since then. 1,900 of those cases by the FAA were basically because people didn't want to wear masks. But get ready, an overwhelming number of the current cases, alcohol was involved. Gee, what a surprise. Alcohol and altitude in an enclosed aluminum cylinder. What could go wrong? I talked about last week Southwest Airlines banning the resumption of bringing back alcohol sales on their planes, at least through July. They were followed in short order by American Airlines saying they're not going to bring it back until September, and other airlines may follow suit. Guys, short of putting a breathalyzer at the jetways, we have a problem. There's a reason why the NFL stopped selling alcohol in the fourth quarter. Right? Okay. What about airport revenue with bars at the airports? There should be, you only get in with a boarding pass that says your flight's leaving in 17 hours, not 17 minutes, because people are getting tanked. And then they're walking on the plane already out of control. This is not good. And it's only going to get worse. So we're going to see what happens. Obviously, there are huge civil penalties, up to $54,000 per incident. Not to mention criminal penalties, because anytime you mess around with a flight attendant, you've created a federal offense and you're met by marshals. Not pretty. So that's what's going on with that. And for those of you who think you want to get around the rules and BYO, that's also an offense, a federal offense. And it violates airline rules as well. It means you're going to get banned as well for that. So for those of you who want to chug a lug, try Evian. Now let's move on. Europe, it's opening up fast. France is opening up 6 days from today. Spain is opening up 4 days from today. We're all waiting to see what the UK is going to do. I told you about this last week. I'm still committed to this idea that when Joe Biden goes over for the G7 in about, 12 days, there's going to be a relaxation of the restrictions from the UK to vaccinated American passengers. It'll probably come out around the 16th of June and be effective July 1st. That's my guess. And Biden will then reciprocate, allowing vaccinated European passengers to come to America. So get ready for that, because once that happens, Ireland has already announced they're opening up July 19th. So that wall is already coming down, but the next big one's going to be Canada. Once the UK opens up, Canada cannot be far behind. Cruises, that's also moving very quickly right now. Disney just got CDC approval to sail one of their ships at the end of this month from Port Canaveral. It'll be a 2-day trip on one of the Disney cruise lines. Of course, everybody's going to have to get vaccinated. And celebrities got it for the Edge. RCCL is already doing it. So by the end of this month, we're going to see the first cruise ship leaving from a U.S. port. This weekend, I will be on board the Celebrity Millennium as it becomes the first U.S. ship with U.S. passengers to sail in the Caribbean. And that's going to happen from St. Martin this Saturday. So I'll be on it, and we'll be reporting from there. I'm not going for the whole 7-day trip. I can't do that, but I'll be on just for about 48 hours to find out how it's working, what the protocols are being followed, what restrictions are in place, not just on the ship, but for shore excursions. And of course, not surprisingly, everybody has to be vaccinated. And of course, everybody is 100% vaccine compliance, which makes this ship, for all intents and purposes, probably the safest place to be right now. Now, another announcement today. I mean, the news is flowing fast and furious. This one's kind of funny. I mean, it's nice, it's positive, but I have to put it in perspective. United Airlines announces it's partnering with a supersonic jet manufacturer called Boom to buy about 15 of their jets that'll hold between 65 and 80 passengers, which will allow you, once they're operational, to fly New York to London in 3.5 hours, San Francisco to Tokyo in 6. The last supersonic flight on the Concorde ended in 2003. So that's 18 years ago. Hard to believe. But even back then, the Concordes, or all supersonic commercial flights, were limited to over-water operations only. Everything else had to be subsonic because they weren't able to really mitigate the sonic boom factor. You'd have explosions all the way from New York to LA if you allowed it to fly supersonically over land. The folks at Boom are telling me that they've been able to figure out new technology to significantly reduce the sonic boom factor. And if the FAA says okay, then guess what? They're going to make the planes. Now, it's a little too early to go out and buy what is probably going to be a very expensive ticket, because at the earliest, these planes won't be operational until 2026. Let me put all this in some historical perspective for some of you who may be old enough to remember. Back in the early 70s, actually even late 60s, between 69 and 70, Pan Am, remember them? They actually announced they were taking reservations, and they did take reservations for the first Pan Am flight to the moon. Well, as we all know, those flights never happened, and Pan Am ceased to operate in 1991. But it was fun while it lasted, as this will be. I love the idea of getting back and doing supersonic travel if you can minimize the boom and you can deal with the environmental issues. That's what they say they're going to work on. United Airlines also made a deal recently to buy electric flying taxis. So they're getting into it. Let's see what happens. But that was the announcement today. Now, here's an interesting development. And I talked about this last week, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. As we now emerge from COVID, as people are filling flights, and by the way, every one of our flights that I've been on has been full, with no exceptions. There are some interesting things we're seeing about the airlines doing what? Going back to pre-pandemic bad habits, right? The old idea of no waivers, no favors. We're charging for everything. We're charging for changing your ticket. We're charging for bags. You name it, it's coming back. They may call it something else, but it's coming back. And that's happening. Now, having said that, I have actually 3 American Airlines stories to share with you. One that happened to me yesterday on my way here from New York, and one that happened last week, which was amazing. The one that happened to me yesterday was enlightening and disturbing. Let me explain. I was on a flight from JFK to Phoenix that left at 6 a.m. yesterday morning and then connecting to a flight to Redmond. It was on an American Airlines 737. About an hour and a half into the flight, as the flight attendants were going down the aisle with the beverage service, they were unable to rouse a passenger. In fact, he was totally unresponsive. They talked to him, they shouted at him, they shook him. Immediately, they asked if there was a doctor or any kind of medical personnel on the plane. We looked out, there were 5 of them. Some EMTs, some doctors. They came back in. They did the vital signs check, as I'm trained to do as a fireman as well. He had a pulse. He was breathing, but he was clearly not with us. Here's an interesting development. The flight attendant then came down the aisle with a telephone that the doctor could then talk to an American Airlines doctor on the ground in Dallas, and they could confer. And they did. And when they finished their conference, which didn't take long, all the doctors were basically in agreement on the plane. Go get the medical kit. That's different than the first aid kit. What many of you don't realize is that on most airplanes, there are 2 kits that are carried. The first aid kit, which maybe has some bandages and some gauze and some antibacterial lotion or ointment. And then there's the big daddy, the medical kit, which is kept under lock and key in the cockpit because it has all sorts of other equipment, including controlled substances that may be needed in severe cases. They brought out that kit that was sealed. They broke the seal, and they all agreed they had to give this guy something I didn't even know was in the American Airlines medical kit. And this is where it gets enlightening and disturbing at the same time. Narcan. Do we know what Narcan is used for? Opioid overdoses. And it was a nasal spray. They basically got him on oxygen, then gave him the nasal spray. He came to. We did not have to divert or make an alternate landing. We landed in Phoenix about 10 minutes early. The paramedics came on board and got him off, and all's well that ended well, I guess. But the story here that was amazing to me was what's in that medical kit these days that wasn't in that medical kit 10 years ago. Narcan was a surprise. But it goes to show you if American Airlines, and I presume other airlines, are carrying Narcan in their medical kit, how often these situations may happen with opioid overdoses at altitude. That still speaks to the biggest problem we have in America when it comes to drugs these days, and that's the opioids. That's one I wanted to share with you. Then I've got 2 good news stories, believe it or not, from our friend Gary Leff. You can hear Gary all the time on our radio show. He writes a wonderful column called viewfromthewing.com. Gary reported on 2 incidents on American Airlines where you got to give this airline a shout out for doing the right thing. Remember I talked about no waivers, no favors? Every once in a while, an airline will prove to you that they can if they want to. Consider this. Last week, there were 74 passengers that were booked to fly American Airlines from New Orleans to Charlotte and then on to Nassau in the Bahamas. The morning New Orleans to Charlotte flight was delayed and then canceled. What that meant, the connection was gone. They weren't going to get to their destination. Somebody at the Systems Operations Center in Dallas at American came up with an idea because that day's Dallas to Nassau flight was only booked to about 92 passengers. So there was enough open seats to take the other 74 folks from New Orleans. So instead of flying the Dallas-Nassau flight that day, it became the Dallas-New Orleans-Nassau flight. And everybody made it. That's thinking. You know what? And nobody was really that disenfranchised. Everybody was in it for the right reasons, and they did the right thing. That's part 1. Let me give you the other part 2 that Gary reported on. And this one, big shout out again to American. It was American Airlines flight 2558 from Fort Lauderdale to Dallas. It took an hour-long mechanical delay last Thursday morning, a week ago today. That's when I heard about this. Actually, I heard about it the next day. And, you know, everybody knew that people had connections to make, but one lady in particular was very distraught about this. Her whole family on the plane was flying to Guadalajara for a funeral, and they weren't going to make their 61-minute connection in Dallas. And the flight attendant really couldn't help that much, but she did tell the pilot. They got on the line with American operations. The captain basically called the dispatch, and let me tell you what they did. I mean, now this is wild. What they did was, first of all, they gave the flight in Fort Lauderdale the closest runway to land in Dallas, and that sped up the flight's arrival a lot. If you've ever landed at Dallas on the wrong runway, you know how long the taxi time is. Then they went up to operations and they changed the gate's arrival time for that plane, arrival gate, to gate D14 So it would actually be in the international section, and they could actually connect next door to the flight to Guadalajara. And the plane only arrived 20 minutes late. Everybody made it. That's great thinking. So 2 shout outs today. Thank you, Gary Leff, for telling us about this, to American Airlines. It's, you know what? It's not bad. By the way, our radio show this week, piece of housekeeping, Eye on Travel, coming right here from Bend, Oregon, from the Tetherow Resort. A lot of great guests. I mentioned David Nealman, one of our guests. I'm a big fan, and hard to believe he's not playing in the NFL anymore. Drew Bledsoe. Everybody, if you're a football fan, you know number 11, the New England Patriots for so many seasons as the backup quarterback to somebody else you probably never heard of, Tom Brady. He went on to play for Buffalo and then Dallas. But what a great career. He played 14 seasons. He still holds the league record for the most number of attempted passes in a single game, 70. And the irony is he was playing for Coach Bill Parcells. I know I'm getting into the weeds here, but I can't help myself. Parcells is a running guy. He was a running coach, but there we go. Bledsoe with 70 pass attempts. Anyway, why is he here in Bend? He lives here now. And here's the interesting thing. He and many, many other former NFL greats are enologists now. They're winemakers. And he's got his own estate here making wine. So do a lot of other NFL players. Dan Marino's one, and many others. He'll talk about that when we speak with him on Saturday on Eye on Travel. Check your listings. I just thought I'd mention it because you don't expect this, but guess what? It happened. It happened. So now let's get to some of your emails. Let's go. Hey, Bob Gilbert says, kudos to American Airlines. You know what? I will tell you another story. It goes back to a Northwest Airlines flight when the airline did not behave that well in the end. It was the last flight of the day from Minneapolis to Chicago, DC-9. And the pilot was actually standing at the jetway as the passengers were boarding. And the plane was leaving like at, 7 o'clock at night, was going to get to Chicago like at 8:30. It wasn't connecting with anything. It was basically terminating in Chicago, and nobody was connecting. And as the pilot's saying hello to the passengers, a gentleman walks up to him with his 11-year-old son and says, "Are you the captain?" "Yes, I am." He says, "Well, I'm having a problem. Maybe you could help me. My son is very sick. He needs to go to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. But the only way Northwest Airlines will fly us there is to go to Chicago tonight, overnight, and then backtrack to Rochester tomorrow. I looked at your in-flight map in the in-flight magazine, your route map, and I noticed you fly right over Rochester on the way to Chicago. Do you think you could stop?" And the captain said, "Hold on a second." He gets on the radio, calls dispatch, explains the situation, then calls air traffic controller, said, "Can I do this?" And the air traffic controller said, "Yeah, let's do it." Dispatch said, "Yeah, this plane is just overnighting in Chicago anyway. You're not going to be delaying anybody." So now the captain gets on the PA system and says, "Ladies and gentlemen," captain speaking, "we have a very special guest on board tonight who needs your help. We need to make a quick stop in Rochester, Minnesota so he can go to the Mayo Clinic. And I'm going to get you to Chicago as close to on time as we can. I hope you're in agreement. We're going to do this to help out." Everybody on board? Everybody said, "Yes, let's do it." They took off from Minneapolis early. They landed on the ground in Rochester. The ambulance was there. They took the kid and the father off. Air traffic control gave them a special vector directly to O'Hare. And here's the interesting part of the story. They landed 30 minutes early in Chicago. What does that tell you? What I've been saying throughout this broadcast, when it comes to the airlines, they can if they want to. So kudos to that pilot. But I'm not done yet. How did I find out about that story? One of the passengers called me who knew me, who'd been on the plane. I checked with the FAA and I checked with the air traffic controller. Sure enough, it's exactly what happened. I wrote about this pilot. And they wanted to name him. The FAA wanted to name him like Pilot of the Year at that point. Northwest Airlines would not allow him to accept the award because they claimed it was setting bad precedent that every passenger would suddenly ask if they could stop in Boise on the way to Spokane. Ridiculous. He should have been in their ads. What I've just told you today about Northwest goes back a number of years. American, 2 incidents last week. That's what makes flying great. When people think, they embrace common sense, and they do the right thing at no expense to anybody other than you're violating policy. I'm the kind of guy, this is what got me thrown out of school, by the way, but I'll share it with you. I'm the kind of guy that if you tell me the speed limit's 65 miles an hour, I'm going to ask you, could you tell me why? Now, if your answer is, well, Peter, we've done the research and you're going to die a fiery death at 67 miles an hour, my response is, thank you so much. I'm driving 55. But if I ask you why the speed limit's 65 and your answer is because, or it's our policy, sorry guys, I'm going 80 because you haven't made your case. In this situation, nobody had to make their case. They just did the right thing and they should be applauded. We'll move on, but I just wanted to share you those stories. And I hope if any airline executives are listening today, they support the operations guys at American, the pilots at American, and the people who made those two things happen. Really good stories. Okay. Thank you, Michael. Wow. Captain Jonathan from New York City. According to Delta, they've carried Narcan since July of 2019. There you go. Wow. Amazing. All right, let's go to the top here. Hold on a second. Got so many people to talk to today. This thing is scrolling down. Okay. Judette, hello for you. Ann Weiner, hello from Ann in New Jersey. I made a deposit on my NCL cruise for December in hopes that they will allow me on with my doctor's note. Right now, they might, but we don't know yet. They haven't issued policy on that, Ann. As soon as I know, I'll let you know. Good morning from sunny Las Vegas. Yep, Las Vegas is wide open now. Drew says, good day. Debbie North, hello from Boynton Beach, Florida. I'm on the first ship out of U.S. on Celebrity Edge, June 26th. There you go. Celebrity Edge is going, and so is Disney. Evelyn, good morning. Jim Sackett, is Norway open? No, it's not, but it will soon. Robin DeCarlo, hello for everybody from Williamsburg, Virginia. Right back at you. Terry says, greeting from the California Historic Route 66 Association. You're nothing but loyal on this broadcast, Terry. Thank you, man. Colleen says she's also in Williamsburg. Stephen Graves, I'm enjoying being home in Tennessee for a change. All right, way to go. Ray Hoyt says, good morning from Tulsa. Ray, I got your email. I'll be back in touch and we will talk. What do I think about Celebrity Cruise changing their perks for elite cruisers? No free laundry. Okay, guys, we're back to the bad pre-pandemic habits. This is not how you raise revenue or engender goodwill. If you had a program in the past, keep it. See how it works. Don't start taking things away. The true definition of luxury is when you get to keep your options. When it comes to travel, why do we tolerate having all of our options taken away and that as a bad excuse for luxury? Please, it's not what it costs. It's what it's worth. Get the accountants out of the system and all will be well. Because all the accountants want to know is talk about what it's costing. They've forgotten that when you engender bad will, it's going to be worth a whole lot more in a negative way. Trust me. Which reminds me of the resort fees at hotels that are coming back. The one hotel we heard Las Vegas is open. There's a hotel in Las Vegas that's still charging almost $4 a day as a utility surcharge for paying for your lights. Stop it. Hello, Patrick Cooney. Valeria Montero from Brazil. She also has an AOL account. I know that all too well. And say hi to your daughter for me. Lindy, hello from Ventura. We love the end of the Seventh Mountain. Okay. Alex Thompson. Hey, good morning from Costa Rica. They're opening up. They've been open for a while, but they're really opening up now. All right. Someone wants to know about Clear. I have to tell you something. Clear is a great idea. I use it all the time, especially now. I forgot to tell you about one other experience I had yesterday coming from Kennedy on a very full flight to Phoenix. The TSA didn't open the pre-check lines. They were closed. What were they doing? God knows. They closed off most of the other lines. There was a huge line at 6 a.m. Look, I know you have to train your agents, but why would you train your agents at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 5 p.m. at the two peak times? Train them at 11:30 or 2 o'clock. You're not speaking to customer need here. How about being entrepreneurial? I get the security aspect, but understand passenger flow. The time to train your agents is not when everybody's getting on planes at the same time, right? Mrs. Schmidlap going through security, you can stop her bag and train somebody about what to look for and take as much time as you want if you do it at noon, not at 7 a.m. This is where Clear helps you out when they close off the pre-check line, or when they're, even if it is a pre-check line, there's a big line. I always choose Clear. They get me right through. It's great. And we'll be doing the show within the next month from Hawaii. Clear has had a huge impact there in clearing passengers with all the COVID stuff. It's really been helpful. And they are using that as the model to branch out into so many other airports and public venue opportunities. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the technology there, because that's moving at rapid pace. So I do see, now you asked, do I do see value in this over TSA global entry? Two separate items. I have global entry and I have clear. Two, apples and oranges. Clear is not going to help you get back to the United States. Clear is going to help you get out of the United States or to Cleveland. Okay. And LinkedIn, some LinkedIn users are so sad about the banning of booze on airlines. Really? Really? I'm not drinking to that. Or maybe I am drinking to that, but not on the plane. Hello for Tampa. Hello, Carmen. What about Italy? It's opening up, guys. It's opening up as we speak, as did Greece already. All right, let's keep going here. All right, how is Hawaii doing? Much better. In fact, I anticipate that within the next 10 days, all the individual neighbor islands will actually start speaking from the same page, and you'll be able to have inter-island flights without hassle. And that's going to happen. Bernice says, good morning from Tanzania, the land of the Great Migration. Don't you know that? And the home of Mount Kilimanjaro and many more. I'm planning on getting over there very soon to do one of our shows. We're just waiting for the right connections and the right flight times, but we're coming. What about war-torn Israel and surrounding countries? Well, let's describe Israel. It's always been in conflict. I would not say Israel is war-torn. Remember, you need to get a map. Would I have any problem going to Israel right now? I wouldn't. And yet the visuals are very powerful with all those rockets coming in. It's never stopped me from going. And that doesn't mean I'm a thrill-seeking idiot. It means I look at a map and I realize where not to go. It's as simple as that, right? Would it stop me from going to Eilat and swimming in the Red Sea? No. Would it stop me from going to the Negev? No. Would it stop me from going to the Dead Sea? No. Would it stop me from going to border towns of Gaza? Probably right now, maybe. All right? So let's get weird here and let's get real here. Okay. Oh, what are my thoughts of the United Airlines pilot sighting the UFO over New Mexico in February? You know what? I think it's silly. This is going to be my politically correct answer. I think it's silly and arrogant of us to think that we're the only ones around. Now, does that mean I believe there are others around? I don't know. I just think it's silly to believe that we're it. It's somewhat stupid. There you go. Oh, did I visit the last Blockbuster video store in Bend? Scott, I did. You missed my photo. I went there and I bought a VHS. I love it. Now I just got to hope my VHS machine works. Domenica Shiro, good morning from Madison, Wisconsin. Can't wait to get back there. I hope the team has a winning season this year because I'm coming. Probably in September or October. Nothing beats a Big Ten football game in Madison, Wisconsin. Sorry for my Michigan fans. I know you have a bigger stadium, but you got to visit Camp Randall to know what I mean. All right. How early in advance are the best prices should you book a vacation? About 3 months ago. I've been talking about this for the last 3 months. Think 330 days out and book now. Airfares are going up at 7% a week, and that's compounded. The airfare to take me from New York to Phoenix and up to Redmond was more expensive than the airfare to take me from New York to Rome. That should tell you something. Hey, Sharon Oldham says hello from Phoenix. I'll be there this afternoon. Flying to Rome in July. All right. I have to hear that. Okay. Joseph Mwangi saying hi from Kenya. Okay. I love it. By the way, Joseph, on my door at my house, I have a beautiful wooden sign that I had made for me by the sign makers in the Central Market in Nairobi, and it's in Swahili. You'll know what it means. Nobody else will, so I'll explain. It says, Bobakali. You know what that means? Beware of the dog. I love it. Okay. Good morning, Brazil from Anderson Silva. Larry Parker's in Missouri. Cheerio from sunny Switzerland. Can't wait to go back. One of my favorite places in the world is Lucerne. My best Italian dinner in the world was actually in Lucerne. Patrice Tanaka, my old buddy. Hello. Love you, darling. Robin DiCarlo, gotta love AA. When they're doing good, you love AA. Which brings me to my next point, Robin. So listen to me carefully. Everybody always asks me, what's your favorite airline? I don't have one. I have favorite airlines by route. Because if you say your favorite airline is United and their flight from Cleveland is 105% of the time late, how can that be your favorite airline if you're on that plane? So ask me the route, I'll tell you my favorite airline. All right. Lotai says, Bend is your bucket list. Yeah, it should be on your bucket list. It's great. You go rafting down the Deschutes River. It's an hour-and-a-half ride. I didn't have a chance to do it, but I've done it before. It's great. Hello from Baltimore. All right. Big news out of the UK. Read Portugal on their stoplight list. Look, what Boris Johnson did this morning about certain destinations in Europe, it's called reciprocity because they didn't want the British holidaymakers there. What we care about right now is vaccinated Americans getting to Europe. It's not about the level of vaccinations there. It's about the level of vaccinations here. And I'm telling you, June 15th or 16th, those walls have to come down for us. They do not want to be without a summer of revenue. And it makes sense. Okay. Adele is stunned about the American Airlines story about doing something good for their passengers. Hey, I'm surprisingly stunned and happy about it. They should continue it. Bruce Siegel, my buddy Bruce, happy anniversary, Bruce. I was at his wedding 2 years ago, last month in Cortona, Italy. What a beautiful location. By the way, thanks to Bruce for letting us broadcast from the Colony last week in Palm Beach, the hotel that he runs. Stephanie Bennett, has there been any talk of dropping the testing requirement when re-entering the U.S. for citizens if you have proof of vaccination? No news yet, Stephanie, but if Biden does that reciprocity thing, and they're going to do that, I think that'll be short order right after that. Good morning from Denver. The Pikes Peak National Railway. Yes, it's open. It's opened after years of closure. I know it very well. I've been on it. Most people don't realize another interesting thing about the Pikes Peak Railway. You know, someone took that railway many, many years ago and took it to the top. And when they got there, they wrote a little song that we still sing today, America the Beautiful. And when you get to the top of the Pikes Peak Railway, you'll know why they were inspired to write the song at that point. Hey, hi from Palm Beach, right where we were last week. Jeffrey Pollack, going to Maui on July 1st. Any news if you've been inoculated, not requiring COVID tests in advance? Not yet. Hawaii's still being strict about that. But check out what Clear is doing to help you get that through easier. And Carol Rosen has not too much information on Japan. Any updates? Hoping to get there in November. Here's the deal. By November, they may open to vaccinated passengers, even if their own vaccination rates in Japan are so slow. The real test is going to be how they're going to even get through the Olympics. Now, remember, no foreign spectators allowed. They banned that because they don't want to give up the television rights. Back to the money again. Let's see what happens. As soon as I know, Carol, I'll let you know. Okay. I got that information from Jonathan about Delta and Narcan. Let me go back here so I don't miss anybody. I'm scrolling, guys. Give me a second because it's changing on me. The screen is changing all the time. I don't want to miss anybody. I'm keeping going here. Give me a second. It's coming in fast and furious. A movie that's opening soon. Let's see. Here's one from Roseanne Maffeo Fraumeni. Say that 3 times fast. Just came back from New Orleans and must tell you it was wonderful. Felt very safe. Wasn't crowded. Lots of restaurants were still adhering to COVID restrictions, but definitely opening up. I'm happy to hear that. Leaving U.S. for Provence. This is from Tommy. July 1st. How many tests will I need for a round trip? My guess, 3 at most. 1 before you go in case your hotel or country needs that. 1 when you get there, and 1 to satisfy U.S. requirements before you come home. Okay, national parks, are they all going to start a reservation system? And the answer is yes. The most popular ones are already getting crowded or sold out. And then, of course, the next ones are in line. So, yes. So if you want to stay at a national park or you want to camp out there or you just want to even tour, call the service right now. You can do it online and book your reservations. The most important email of the day from John Book, who says, from San Diego, our breweries are open. Okay, John. And Valeria Montero says, I understand that, Valeria. Nowhere open in Brazil. We need to oust the president first, just like Trump. No comment, although the one thing that Trump has in common with Bolsonaro is they have 2 things in common. They both denied COVID to a certain extent, and they both got it. But yes, Brazil is still a mess. Okay. All right. Oh, listen to this from Catherine says, I met a guide in Kenya in the comments here. I'm going on a safari guided by him in August. I'm glad I could make that connection. Um, okay, Bob Gilbert says, what's my thinking about the timing of the UK, USA lifting the COVID restrictions? I mentioned it before, Bob. I'll say it again. Look to Biden's trip to Europe for the G7 coming up in like 10 days. I think that's the moment where the wall comes down for vaccinated Americans going to the UK without having to quarantine, and then the reciprocity happens after that. But I'm not saying it's going to happen on June 15th. It might be announced then, effective July 1. Remember, Ireland's already opening up July 19th. The UK can't be stuck. I mean, it's truly a revenue issue. Okay. Susan says, I love Clear. Too many people have TSA PreCheck now. I'm right there with you. I love Clear as well. Dominican Republic open? Yes, Jonathan, it's open. And good evening from India, from Ganesh. Hi from Fort Lauderdale, from Mera. David Alperin, my pal from Newsweek days. What happens if a fully vaccinated person tests positive within the requested 72 hours prior to travel? Has that occurred? Actually, it has. It actually happened to my assistant, Anthony, I believe 2 days ago. He tested positive. He went back in, tested 3 hours later. He tested negative. There you have it. It has happened. And by the way, Anthony's vaccinated. April wants to know which airports offer Clear. If you go to their website, they'll give you the list. They're not in every airport. Some airports, are stupid, honestly. But where they are, they work like a charm. Oh, by the way, where they work and where they are, you don't even have to take out a boarding pass. You don't have to take out your wallet or your ID. It's a biometric system. It reads your eyes. And next thing you know, good to go. Okay. And they're testing a system at the gate that you can do the same thing. So it makes it really seamless. Jennifer says, we'd like to go to Croatia in July. How will they accept our vaccination cards? They're accepting your vaccination cards now. I know there's been talk of a European Union vaccination card or regional vaccination cards, but until they even get there, and even when they do get there, your vaccination cards will be valid. That's my understanding. Just remember to do what I tell you to do. Photocopy them 3 times, one that you take in another location other than your wallet, one that you give to your significant other or travel companion, and one you leave at home. You're good. I mean, for those people who just want to take photographs of them or scan them on their phone, I'm okay with that, except I'm a paper guy. I'm the guy who will probably get to the gate and my batteries die on the phone. Get it? Back up with paper. When in doubt, manual. My favorite button on my computer, I know this is not environmentally responsible, but I'm not going to apologize for it. It's print. Is Portugal open to USA? Not yet, but it's getting there. How do you sign up for Clear? That's an interesting one. You can sign up for Clear. There are so many different programs that you can do it with that offer discounts. So it's either some of the airlines, some of the credit cards will do it for you, like they do with Global Entry and TSA. So check that out. There are many discount programs available, and they may even be available on their website. I don't know, but I haven't checked. But seriously, it works. Hey, Martha says, welcome to my hometown. Thank you, Martha. Pamela says, I'm from Washington State. I booked a Princess Cruise to South America for December. Anything to consider or be concerned about at this moment? No. I think they're going to be okay. Hello from Denmark, home of the true Vikings. All right. I'm one who collects Royal Copenhagen China, so I'm a big fan. Please come to Chicago for the Badger Irish game in October. Would love to buy you a beer. Yeah, what could go wrong at a Badger Irish game in October in Chicago? Oh my God. Yeah, I would love to do that. Where are they playing it? I'd love to know that too. Are they playing it at in the main stadium the NFL plays? Jumbo, okay, Jumbo from Africa. That's from Sunny. Here's Debbie from Alpharetta, Georgia. I am attending our first in-person GBTA Georgia chapter mix and mingle this evening. That's the Global Business Travel Association. We are ready to get back to the business of travel. I second that. This will tell you where the prices are. Ellen Fisher says, I booked a Marriott hotel in Seattle for September back in May when I told you guys to do that for $89 a night. It's now going over $200 a night. Book now. I totally agree. And choose fully refundable. I agree with that too. Clarify if Americans can be allowed in on non-COVID flights. And the answer is yes, but you're going to have to quarantine if you're going to Italy and some other countries in Europe. Right now, I think Delta, I believe United are operating COVID-free basically all vaccinated flights where you've been tested, so the entire passenger complement has already shown negative, and then they come in without quarantine. That's what's going to happen. Sonny wants to know the latest on cruise to Havana. There is no news. I told you this a couple of weeks ago. It's on the Biden agenda to reverse what Trump reversed from the Obama administration, but there are a lot of other things that are coming into play now in terms of other agreements that have to be on the table in terms of our intelligence services and the Havana syndrome, if you've been following that story. I wouldn't expect that to happen until December or January at the earliest. Hello from Nashville, says Jenny. The music is back. Happy to hear that. Hold on a second. My goodness, we have so many people on today. Good morning from Panama, Angela, or Angelica, or Angelica. I got the pronunciation right. Tina says, I just canceled a trip to Taiwan. South America is not looking great either. Antarctica solar eclipse sailing on December 4th via Ushuaia possible? Yes, it is. And by the way, if you email me to peter@petergreenberg.com, I will get you the name of the restaurant that I ate in Ushuaia, probably one of the best meals I've ever had in my life, and in the most unexpected place, right? So do that, and we'll get you the name of that restaurant. Bernice, whenever you're ready, I'm there, okay? I'll see you in Tanzania. How do I think airports will handle the capacity to do the extra COVID passport checks, please? It's going to be messy, guys. It's going to be messy. Airports don't have the real estate or the design set up for it. They never had the real estate or the design set up for airport security to begin with. So get out there early. Hi from Split. We love Split. We'll be coming over to Zagreb very soon to do one of my television shows, so hopefully we'll get a chance to see you. That's from Ives or Ives. When will Argentina open? Yes, I'm asking again, but the last time was 2 months ago. Kara Barker, I got to tell you, they're still not open. Uruguay's still not open. It's a mess down there. The leadership, I have to say, the leadership in Argentina is truly lacking. And if somebody in Argentina wants to get mad at me for that, I have basically a portfolio to show you of lacking leadership in Argentina. So as soon as I know more, I'll let you know. Tina says hi from La Jolla. I am scheduled to attend ILTM Latin America and Brazil in October. Do you really think Brazil will be in a position to host this conference by then? I don't. That one, the jury's still out. My guess is it's going to be virtual. Sid Kasky says, beautiful downtown South Miami. Carmen says, I was in Utah this past weekend. Moab area was super busy. Of course. Here we go with Moab. Little trivia for you. And if my friend Grant Rosenberg is watching, he'll appreciate this. Back in 1984, we shot a pilot for a show when I was at Paramount working with Grant, and we shot it in Moab, Utah. It went on to become one of the more popular shows in television history. MacGyver shot in Moab, Utah. How do you like that? Back then, the food in Moab was either deep fried or deeper fried. They've changed since. Okay. Hey, Bob Gilbert. I see that. All right. Any nonstop flights from Tina to Europe besides British Air from San Diego to Heathrow? Well, if you're in San Diego, that's it. You're lucky British Airways is still flying nonstop from San Diego to Heathrow. They've canceled so many flights. Let me go to some other letters that you've given me, but first let's talk about our photo of the week. That winner goes to Terry Bielaski. I hope I pronounced that right. Take a look at this picture. It's coming up on the screen now. Another one that looks just like, we were just talking about Tanzania. That's Tanzania's Ngorongoro crater. Say that 5 times fast. Taken in April of this year. Minimal crowds, and so every species during 15 days in Tanzania and Uganda. Great photograph, Terry. We love it. And folks, if you have one you want to submit to tell us the story behind it, you can do that. Just send it to peter@petergreenberg.com, and we'll be happy to post it and share it with everybody else. Let me go to some of your written questions. Randy says, TSA refused to open pre-check at peak times. Randy, that's my point. It's terrible. We paid for this service. I mean, they're not going to give us our money back. How about giving us the service we paid for? Now, what do I think about Celebrity Cruises claiming Florida will exempt cruise lines from their vaccine passport rule, and then Ron DeSantis directly contradicting it? That court case is going to mediation. My guess on this, and I don't think I'm going to be wrong, it's never going to come out of court. The private sector will basically take precedence here. It'll be a rule that the private sector is going to make. No vaccine, you're not on the ship. That's it. No vaccine, you're not on the ship. You're going to see that in the private sector, a lot of places pretty soon. All right. Here's one from Gordy. There's a ban on non-EU travelers extended to June 30th for Spain. You should address this. It's been addressed. You can go. You just may have to quarantine. They are opening up as of the 9th. Excuse me, as of the 7th. France is opening up the 9th. Peter Coe, how are you at pronouncing Wisconsin place names, Peter Greenberg? Let's start you off with Oconomowoc. I got that one. Oh, the other ones you gave me, you're not being nice. We just did a piece on my website on unpronounceable names that people mess up all the time, like Brisbane as opposed to Brisbane. But the ones you gave me, you know what I'm going to do, Peter, for next week? I'm going to post them on our site, and let's see how everybody else does. I am not going to embarrass myself. I got Oconomowoc right because my roommate when I went to Madison was from Sheboygan Falls, so we got through that. Is it true that Mykonos is COVID safe? No, Mykonos is open for people who've been vaccinated. Big difference. Should I get clear instead of pre-check? No, get both. Get both. Because if you get clear and pre-check, clear gets you to the front of the pre-check line. If you get clear without pre-check, it gets you to the regular line. Big difference. Here's one from Liz. My airfare from Denver to Dallas has tripled in price. Will it go up even more for the fall? Well, no, it'll go down after September 20th. But for June, July, and August, fasten your seatbelt. I've been telling you guys this. Sean says, I know many have canceled trips to Europe this summer. Will there be less crowds for the rest of us, or is this wishful thinking? No, there will be less crowds. Look, as many people are going to go to Europe this summer, it will not match 2019 levels. So you're still in the buyer's market process for the moment, but that can change. Okay, JR says, did I do a documentary on the crash of Flight 191 years ago? Where can I watch it? Yes, I did. It was on the History Channel, and they should still have it. Should still be available on streaming or on demand. That was the crash of 191, and the name of our series, I believe, was The Probable Cause. That terrible crash that happened May 25th, 1979. Gary says, okay, I'm vaccinated and want to get away outside the U.S. What is your best recommendation that will not get canceled, least hassle, and a worthwhile destination? Well, that's changing by the hour. There are probably 40 of them right now. Seriously, we have a list that we update every 10 days because it's too crazy to try to update it every day on the destinations that are open to people who are vaccinated. So check that out on petergreenberg.com. I hope you'll do that. A couple of housekeeping notes. Remember, our radio show, Eye on Travel, coming from right here in Bend, Oregon, from the Tethoro Resort on Saturday from 10 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't find a station in your market, no problem. We also stream it online at CBS Eye on Travel. You'll find it online at our website, petergreenberg.com. Just hit the icon at about 10:05 Eastern Time, 7:05 Pacific, 9:05 Central, and you'll hear the show in its entirety. Of course, our podcast runs every Tuesday, so check that out as well. And again, send your photos in. Travel safely. It's going to get crazier and crazier. I'm about to leave and go on a very crowded flight. It happens, and it's happening everywhere. But travel safely. Love talking to you guys today, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.